Hi guys, it's Lynn here. Hope you're having an amazing day. Now today I'm doing a little bit of a check over with my Peniocereus Cactus plant seedlings that I grew from seed back now in 2015, May 2015, and they've been growing very well up until recently. I've just noticed that I've got them here in the polytunnel and they just seem to be very bendy, as you can see, weak, and they're not really taking up much water. So when people ask me, say their plants, they're not quite sure, their plants looking a bit shriveled and they're watering it well and everything like that, I always recommend, if there's no sign of bugs outwardly, as in this case here, all the stems, no sign of any mealybugs, spider mite or anything else, then it's nearly always down to the root system. Or sometimes it could just be that the soil isn't any good and the plant's having problems taking up water. Sometimes it could have a good root system, but if the soil is going to be acidic over time, it can sometimes, or the other way as well, it can sometimes cause the plant to struggle taking up water. Now, we always water our plants with rainwater as much as possible. When we don't have rainwater, we're lucky here now in Belfast, in Northern Ireland, where the water quality it's a low pH. It's about 6.0 to 6.5, so the pH is great for watering cacti. The chlorine, we normally leave things in big buckets for a couple of days to let the chlorine dissipate, and all our plants seem to be pretty much good. We water the majority of our house plants with the plain tap water now because of that, but we always prefer to use rainwater as much as possible, and certainly 100% rainwater with carnivorous plants and our epiphytic plants. We always use rainwater there, so we don't think it's necessarily down to the watering or anything like that. As you can see, we use a cactus mix and with perlite in there. But there's something about this soil mix that I'm not happy about. And it's since I repotted them into this last year that they seem to have struggled a bit. And I've got a funny feeling, the way they seem a bit loose, that they've come away from their roots. Now, sometimes if plants seem to lose their roots or they're struggling on their roots, this time of year, especially around late summer, I always find them annoying little fungus gnats, commonly called scariad flies, often hovering about the house plants and other plants in general. And since I've used John Innes compost, which is a loam-based compost, it only has a small amount of peat, mostly loam, I don't seem to have such a problem with it. But there's still, for some reason this year, I have seen them around, even though we use a loam-based soils. So there's something about this soil, as I say, I want to just check the roots and check these plants over. It may be that I may have to put them into fresh soil and maybe smaller pots, because although I potted them on, they had very long root systems when I did repot them on from their little seed trays, and which is why I put them in quite deep pots. But it may be that if the roots are suffering, they may need to have a smaller pot. But anyway, I'm not sure what's happening with these until I actually get them out the pot and have a look, and I'm going to share it with you. And if you want to see the video of when I did grow these from seed, it's part of my How to Grow Cacti from Seed video series. If you want to know how to grow cacti from seed, links up above to video on what method I use and how you can grow cacti from seed if you've not done it before. And this is also for succulents as well, all types of succulents and cacti. So links up above to that video if you want to watch it. And also a little bit of an update on these. When I think I've done a couple of updates on these. I'm not quite sure now, it seems so long ago, but if I have, the links will also be up above as well on there, so do check them out. And as I say here, this is a little puncher seedling that somehow found its way into these. Now, when I potted these on, I had no puncher seedling in there, so I really don't know where it's come from, because we've never had any punchers since we've been here that have ever flowered for us. But we have been given a puncher seeds that we've sowed from other people, so possibly this little one took a bit of a hitchhike into this pot, but he's going to be potted up separately in a little tiny little pot, obviously, because Peniocereus greggii like a bit more of a humid atmosphere, and you often see them in Arizona. They sometimes grow trailing along. They're slightly epiphytic as well, mixture between desert cacti and epiphytic cacti. They don't like to be kept as moist and damp as pure epiphytic cacti such as Schlumberger, Christmas cactus, holiday cactus and Hylocereus and them types, but they don't like to be kept as dry obviously as some of the desert cacti do, so they can be a little bit difficult to grow. And as I say, Peniocereus cactus is very rare to find for sale as such in many garden shops and that. I was very, very lucky to be gifted these seeds from a wonderful friend in Arizona. And they actually came from his own flower, which was absolutely wonderful, from his own Peniocereus greggii cactus plant that he got seeds from. So this is extra special. I really, really do not want to lose these. So it is very important that they get the right treatment. So what I'm going to be doing now is very gently, I'll start on probably one of the smaller pots here, see what's going on. You can see they're very bendy, and they do sort of grow a little bit like that. So I may be worrying over nothing, but I'm not going to know till I find out. And going to be gently loosening up the pots there. And I won't be using this soil again. So I'm going to be tipping the soil out there. As I say, I use a lot of perlite and sand, so it always makes sure you use a very well drained potting mix. And well, the good news is this is the one here, and as you can see, it has a very thick sort of a cordex tap type of root there, and they're just gently loosening up the soil around this to check there's no hidden signs of bugs. Now there's a bit of something white there, but I think that's, no, it doesn't look like mealybug. I think what's happened here, this is more the when you use soil, Johnnings especially, they use fertilizers, which I prefer to actually buy just sort of soil without any type of fertilizers. Me and Hansi are vegan, and we don't really like the idea of them using fertilizers that could possibly come from animal ingredients. We really don't know. I mean, I've wrote to many of the companies to actually find out, and they never reply back. But it's all about doing what you can do, I suppose. But it's always good, I think, to use as much pure as possible. But look, good root system there. As I say, that's got a bit of white on. That's purely from fertilizers there, so there's no sign of mealies. But what I'm going to do anyway, because of that, I probably will remove some of this with some isopropyl alcohol, just to be on the safe side anyway. But other than that, it looks a pretty good healthy plant there, as you can see. So that one's okay, but it won't hurt probably just to go over them with a little bit of the alcohol in case there's hidden bugs that you can't see. And that's there on there again, loosen it up. Unfortunately, most bugs are the ones you can't see. Now that's, again, roots very minimal there. And you see the pot, when I potted that up, it did have a root system going all the way down. So it looks like something is attacking the root system here. Now, sometimes it can just be sometimes that the soil is no good. And as you can see there, that show you that's actually the roots that have come away. So this plant has come away from its roots, which there's something happening. And look at that, it's all white on there. And believe it or not, that's actually perlite, guys. It sort of broke away, as you can see. You'll know if it's mealybug. If you see anything white and and you don't know if it's fertilizer or mealybug coming from the soil, what you want to do with the white is crush it in between your finger, and you'll know if it goes pink or a strange grey-green, then you'll know that it's mealybug. And sometimes we've got a little loop we can look through as well. Now this plant is not good, as you can see, it's rotting. Look at that. So this is definitely not good, and yep, that's not good at all. But luckily it has got a good taproot. I think it's just, as I say, it's rotting. It's mainly just the outer skin peeling away there. Not quite sure what's going on, but you see there's new, it's actually sort of gone into a thick stem, and there's new roots coming through there. You can see there's roots forming. And again, that's the white powdery stuff. When I squeeze it, it's dry powder. I think it's just perlite. That's the only trouble when you're using perlite. It's very difficult to check if you've got root mealybugs or not. But as I say, a good tip, as in this case you've got white there, is to gently get it off in your hand, rub it, and if it just goes into dry white powder, you know it's just literally just perlite or fertilizers in the soil. Now this is going to make a good recovery. As I say there, look, that's pretty dry. There's new roots forming there. So I'm not quite sure what's happened with them, to be honest with you. But anyway, it's going to be good to pot them up in much smaller pots and get this soil that obviously is not agreeing with them off them. Again, and to keep this video, I mean, look at that. I mean, there's an example there, guys. I put it that when I potted this up, It had roots right down there. There's not much roots on them, which is, I think there's something bit of problem with the root system, which is why they're not been taking up water, and these poor seedlings have been struggling. But as I say, it's difficult to say. I'm going to be potting these up in a very, very sandy mix. I always add sand to the Johnnings mix, even though it's got sand already and an extra perlite in this. But this case, because these seem to be rotting back from the roots, I'm probably going to leave these for a couple of hours just to dry out. As I say, I might dip them in isopropyl rubbing alcohol, just give them a quick dip in it to sterilise anything in case there is any problems there, and leave them to dry for a couple of hours, and then pot them up in much smaller pots, and obviously with a a much more sandier compost mix. Yeah, I mean, that's not looking good there. So I'm just going to see what's root system there. So I'm going to do this with the rest of these, and so I don't want to bore you because the video could go on very, very long. I'm going to carry on doing these. Well, do another 3. I'm going to show you what the root system's like, and then I'll do the other 3. Now the other one seems to be pretty good. This has got a great root system on it. So this is what they were like when I first repotted them all, with a lovely long deep root system there, and a good sort of Cordex base there, taproot. As I say, there's that white powder again, but again that's going to a white dry powder, so that's purely down to the fertilisers and that. So I'm going to this roots look pretty mushy there. I'm probably going to cut that back. So I'm going to let these dry out for a couple of hours before I pot them up again. Again with this one here, he's got some roots there coming back. I think what's happened, this soil has been totally inappropriate for them. They obviously much need I always use very well drained soil, as I say, and always add extra. I prefer to be on the safe side and always use extra drainage, but this has definitely not been good for them at all. Look at that, it's actually rotting. But luckily it seems to be rotting on the outer side, and I'm able to peel it away and revealing all fresh new growth where the roots are coming through. So the plant seems to be rehealing itself. As I say, fresh air is going to do this good before I pot them on. And then the other ones as well, that's completely lost all its roots there. Look, poor thing. Theirs as well. Got a good root system on it there, but when I repotted these, they had such long root systems, so obviously the roots have been really struggling in this soil. And as you can see, pretty sure you can see there, I've got perlite in there, and I've got sand and cactus mix. So I have used good stuff as far as I know, and I have not been overwatering or underwatering. So it's just one of these things. Sometimes you do everything right and you're not quite sure what's happening. Personally, I'm not familiar with growing Peniocereus, and I say they're not a commonly seen for sale cactus plants. So it could just be something I'm doing wrong. But as I say, you learn, don't you? But I mean, obviously it's down to there's something going on here with the drainage. I say just peeling away the outer layer there. Going to let these dry, and hopefully it's very thin this, but hopefully it should reroot itself, put into a very sandy mix there. And there's just left for the last one here. And as I say, there's this little puncher that's got in here, so he looks very healthy. Loosen it up here. He's going to have his own little pot. Oh, little cutie, little root system there. So he's going to be okay. And these here, so that's got a great root system on there. There's some that are definitely going to be pretty good, making good recovery, so that's fine. I'm going to put the very good ones separately so I know. And now this one here, this is growing next to it, but this is the opposite. I mean, this one's going the opposite. You can see that it's rotting, completely rotten there. Let that dry, and I might be able to peel away the outer coating on the outside of this big tuber here, and hopefully it should recover. But that's them all unpotted now, and what I'm going to be doing now is going to let them dry out, not dry out, but let them dry for an hour, just get the fresh air at them and gently remove any last bits of soil on them. And then I'm going to dip them in a bit of isopropyl alcohol. Now guys, when I was checking some of these, some of the tubers have completely rotted away, and Hansi's very, very good. I asked him for his advice on this, and he's took the bottom bits away there. We're going to let them dry up. We've got a bit of yellow sulphur powder to put on as well, that's going to help stop any infection there. And I really, as you can see, that's sort of brown there. I really don't know what to suggest because I've never experienced this with cacti. And as I say, you learn something new, and hopefully from this I can advise other people in the future if they have that, if it's going to work or not. And hopefully that dries it, be able to pot it and treat them sort of as semi-cuttings. Hansi's done a great job there. And
this one,
yeah.
It's rotten here.
this poor little one here has completely, yeah, that's rotted there. Hansi, my wonderful fiance here, Hans, has given me a bit of advice because I came in to see him. I said, what do I do, love, about this?
We try with that.
Yeah.
You see, it's a little bit inside there, but do you have this powder here?
Yeah, we've got the yellow sulphur,
so dried up properly. So
see how it goes.
We give them another chance. We have a lot of problem with this.
Yeah, do you know when I mean
the
soil, I think I was saying to the viewers here that there's definitely something going on with the soil. I mean, as you see, we've got perlite, sand, and we've made it as well draining, but sometimes this happens, but the soil is not. I said I'm going to pop them up into a very, very sandy soil, but I'm going to leave these overnight to sort of dry up because they've. Oh, well done. Yeah. Hansi's cut that off. All we can do is try and save them, and luckily this one is pretty good.
It's sad because it's your
I know
seedlings.
It's such a shame. And it's that one, luckily that one's okay. So these can drop. I said I'm going to dip them into isopropyl alcohol just to dip them because this will help sterilise any infection or anything like that as well. So that's the best thing. I think the other ones are good. Thank you, Hansi. That does his advice because I've not encountered this before. Hansi has been growing cacti for a lot longer than I have. Even though I've been growing them now for 35 years. But Hansi's been like for 40, 50 years. 60 years, in fact. So this is the best we can come up with here. So as I say, I'm going to get some rubbing alcohol now, isopropyl alcohol. Going to clean all this completely away from the tray. I'm going to show you how I'm going to dip these in the alcohol. Just a bit of a tip, guys. When you're emptying plants out of pots where you're not sure what's going on, whether there's been infection gone into the roots or infection in general or just rotten plants, never ever just use pots again on your plants. Now these can be washed out and sterilised, and what I do is we always reuse things. We don't like to throw things away if they can be reused, but what I'm going to be doing here obviously is these are going to be completely washed and sterilised before I use them on any other plants. Don't just put them in there and say, oh, I'm going to use this now for my other seedlings or my other plants. It's really important that from a bacterial and viral point of view, you really completely clean pots, sterilise them. What I normally do is I soak them first of all in a bowl of soapy water, and then I soak them, once they're really clean, I soak them again with a bit of isopropyl alcohol in there, and a couple of drops of lavender, pure essential oil as well, and just leave them to soak. Not too much so it doesn't melt the pots, just enough to sterilise, and then I let them dry out in the fresh air before I'd use them again. And just wanted to share that little tip with you guys. Now also I've got going to give the black tray a very, very good sterilise as well with the alcohol. I find this good for absolutely everything. It's even good for using around the house, guys. I find it's absolutely brilliant. And if you want to know where to get it from, I get it from I think it's Amazon or eBay, I can't remember now, but links down below to where I get it from if you're interested. It is very, very good. I find it's just brilliant even for cleaning knives when you're cutting plants and things like that. And what I'm going to be doing here, just do that so you can see it a bit more. Pour a little bit in there. And dip in then. As I say, these look pretty good roots, but I'm just taking no chance he's going to dip it. It's not going to hurt. I would never soak a plant in rubbing alcohol for a long period of time. It's certainly not the plant, but just the roots. But if a quick dip in there, I find I never have any problems. I sometimes do this with cuttings as well. It just helps to sterilise. As I say, no sign of any bugs that I can see, but you never know what's lurking. So this is purely a bit of a prevention. And then I'm going to let them dry out in the fresh air. So lovely sunny afternoon here, which is good. And then the fresh air will help to dry up any sore, damaged roots as well. And then I'm going to show you when I pop them up. Now I may do this tonight, or may do it because it's sort of getting late now. It might be a good idea to actually leave these overnight, and then I'm going to pop them up in the morning. So I'm going to switch this off in a minute, and I think I'm going to carry on in the morning. What I will do before is just going to pot up this little baby here, this little puncher interlope. I'm going to give that a little quick dip as well, just in case there's anything going on with that. Now these two here, I'm going to treat very differently here. I'm not going to put them in the alcohol. I'm actually then going to use these, put a tiny bit of yellow sulphur. This is like acts as a fungicide, and I like to use it on cuttings. It's a bit of extra protection. But you can use cinnamon as well. I've often used cinnamon powder. Yellow sulphur is not the easiest to get hold of, and I don't think it's legal in some countries. I'm not quite sure, but cinnamon powder does the same thing. It's antifungal. And as I say, that's them. They're going to be treated completely as cuttings, so they won't be potted up probably about 2 weeks until the cut has completely calloused over, and then I'm going to pot them up in very sandy soil and treat them completely as cuttings. So they're going to be put aside for a while and see how they go. But as I say, these here now are all going to be leaving to dry now overnight, and then pot them up. But I'm just going to show you, I'm going to pot this little guy up and I'm going to show you as well, because it's all part of the little video vlog. Now I've got a little pot there for him, a little tiny little pot, this gorgeous little tiny mystery puncher seedling. And I'll just turn this a little bit low so you can see a bit more. I'm going to pot this up. As I say, he looks like he's going to be okay anyway there. And very sandy soil again, loam based, extra sand in there, so it's well drained. And that's, you always make sure when you're using cacti and succulents, you always use a very well drained potting mix. And that's gently tap him down there. There he is. So he's perfectly fine. And as I say, I'm going to leave these overnight now, just to dry up a little bit. Not dry up as such, but just so the roots have dried up. And then I'm going to carry on in the morning, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to be potting them up and how I'm going to be treating them. So I'm going to switch this off now and carry on with the video tomorrow. Now guys, it's the next day and it is a beautiful sunny day, as you can see out there. And the good news is I've left these overnight to heal up any sort of damages here. Now these are the ones that Hansi trimmed off that had obviously the rotten tuber, and I put a little bit of yellow sulphur powder on to dry them up. And what I'm going to be doing now is, obviously I won't be potting these up today. I'm going to be leaving them a week or two so they form a complete callus over, and I might sprinkle some cinnamon powder, pure cinnamon powder, over the bottoms of them to help prevent any further rots and also viruses and fungal, as well as cinnamon powder is great for preventing fungal attacks. As you can see, this one does not look that healthy, so I'm hoping it's going to be okay, but we'll see how it goes. And I'll just sprinkle a bit of cinnamon on it. And these here I'm going to be potting up today, and I've got some little pots ready as well. I'm going to be using a very sandy loam based soil with extra sand, and I'm also going to be sprinkling some cinnamon powder on the base of these as well, because it acts as a bit of an anti-fungicide as well, and it's natural and it won't come to any harm with these. I think it's a bit of a safer option than using anything else on them, just as a bit of a precaution. And I'm going to be potting them up now and showing you how I'm going to be doing it. Now that's me outside now to pot up these, and I've got some very small little pots, as you can see here, and I've also got some cinnamon powder that I'm going to be sprinkling a little bit at the bottom there, and also on the tubers to help prevent fungal attacks as well. And this is really good. This is really cheap cinnamon powder. This is from our local supermarket called Tesco, and you can pick cinnamon powder at health shops and things like that, but sometimes the local supermarket will have them very cheap. And make sure it's obviously cinnamon pure powder and not cinnamon flavourings or anything like that, because it won't have the same effect. And I'm using some much smaller pots than what I had them potted up before in, because obviously, as you can see, they've only got little roots, and that's going to be perfect for that until it gets a proper root system up. So obviously what I'm going to be doing now is just sprinkling a tiny little bit. I filled a little bit of the pot up with a loam based potting mix. I like to make my own cactus soil. In this case I'm using John Innes, which is a loam based one, John Innes #1. So it's not too high in nutrients, because these are sort of more potting on. And also I've added extra sand as well, because I want to use an extra sandy mix in this case. I wouldn't normally use so much sand, and I'd normally probably use a bit of grit as well. But in this case, with these, I'm going to have them make sure to be extra careful with the sand. And I put a bit of soil in the bottom, and I'm going to be sprinkling a tiny bit of cinnamon powder in the bottom there. This won't hurt at all, and gives them a bit of a boost, as I say, with a fungal attack. And then also probably give it a bit of dip in the cinnamon powder too, because that's going to help them a little bit. So just sprinkle a little bit on. It's a bit of a windy day, so sorry if there's any wind noise, guys. Placing that in there, and then I'm going to be loosely putting the soil all around. Now what I'm doing, I'm not going to show you the whole, because I've got 8 of these to pot up. Rather than bore you, it's going to be a very, sorry this video is so long, guys, and if you've watched it this far, whew, hats off to you, that's all I can say. But hopefully it's not going to take me too long to pot these up. I'm going to show you the first 2 I'm going to be doing, and then I'm going to show you the finished result. As I said, just loosely potting it, gently tapping it in there. So I'm going to be treating these, obviously, although they have roots, because they're still recovering, they've rotted, I'm going to be treating these very lightly. We're putting them into the plant grow room under the lights to give them a bit of an extra boost. And also just going to be spraying them with rainwater, so the very top surface of the soil just remains damp, just to encourage them to root, but certainly not going to be watering these as normal while they're so fragile at the moment. And you know, stick the little label on. There, as I say, seed sown from May 2015, so they're very special. That's the first one done there, and it's going to show you the other one. As I say, little there. It's got a lot of roots to recover from. It's sending out new roots there, so it's a good. That should recover quite well. Tip it again in the cinnamon. I'll just show you here what I'm doing. Bit of cinnamon there, and again, a pot. Sprinkle it up in soil. Just enough to cover the bottom and make sure there's no hard bits or stones in, so it's soft. There you go. You can also use a sieve. Sometimes I sieve soil through to make sure there's none of the hard bits in there. Sprinkle a bit of cinnamon in the bottom like that. And you don't have to do this with the cinnamon, it's just something I prefer to do because I think it extras a bit of extra prevention against fungal attack in this case. So and then soil all around like so. And obviously I'm going to be doing updates on these, and hopefully it's going to be good news. But I'm going to do updates probably in the next well, it's difficult to say when I see that they're recovering. Obviously I'll be doing an update on them, so stay tuned. Now that's the second one done. Label, and then I'm going to switch this off now. I'm going to show you what they look like when they're all potted up. Now guys, that's them all potted up and labelled, and as I say, I'm going to be keeping my fingers crossed for these Peniocereus that they make a full recovery, and I'll make regular updates on their progress. I'll probably know when they've rerouted themselves, when obviously they've fattened up, because they're looking a bit shriveled at the moment. They should fatten up and hopefully have signs of new growth. And we're putting these in the plant room upstairs under grow lights to encourage faster rooting and their recovery. So guys, sorry if there's wind noise, it's very windy today. I want to send you loads of love, heaps of happiness, and tons of plant power. As always, from the Emerald Isle. And until the next video,